this whatever podcast, why is the guys always like 10, 15 years older than the women? Have you noticed that?
I legit don't understand, and why Charlie Kirk seems to have like an open invitation to come on and like speak on things that he has no credibility to speak on, like happy relationships. But okay.
And I appreciate Matt for time coding this for me for where we start, but this is an 8-hour long stream.
Kirk's not in the full.
Yeah, I don't think he's there for 8 hours, but it goes for 8 hours.
Jeez, this is from about a week and a half ago.
And I'll just say that is pause it real quick. It's I believe an OnlyFans model, this lingerie modeling, talking with Charlie Kirk about what should be expected of men and who's to blame for maybe a degradation of men in the dating pool.
Mm. If you don't believe that, then you basically are dismissing all of humanity.
It's not that I can't believe that men will go, but
hear me out.
It's that
men love being useful.
This is fine. Men want a purpose. They want to go on an adventure. And so if you say, you can be with me, but here's the rules of the road.
Okay, but I'm on the internet and there's how many thousands of hundreds of millions of men on the internet? I can't fix all of them.
I'm not asking you to fix all of them. You want to change the world, start with changing you.
It doesn't matter. They're not even doing OF and they're still getting treated like garbage.
Hold on. So again, if you believe that what you do doesn't matter, then you're a nihilist and just do whatever you want.
It's not even about me doing OF. It's about the way that men treat you when you're a woman.
So that's this is the point though, is that how do you get treated better?
Let me
by
explain.
Men? One sec. Let me ask you a question. Do you think you get treated by men better by showing more skin or less skin?
Obviously, if you show less skin.
Okay, so you agree.
But hold on, because even when you show less skin, there's women in full-blown covered-up burqas, and they still get sexualized. They still get acid thrown on them. They still get R-worded in the middle of the street. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, I don't agree with that at all. Okay,
that's
so if you want, men's sexual nature on the internet, you are seeing a window into the depraved because there's no guardrails and there's no guidelines. So how do you lift up that primal carnal sexual nature towards something that is no longer?
Why is that my responsibility to lift up their?
Hold on. It's not your responsibility. It's humanity's responsibility. But I would imagine you want a life partner at some point. Yes? No?
I'll figure it out when they come to me. I'm not going to every man that is in my direction.
Doing OnlyFans, you're not going to find a life partner.
That's totally fine. I don't care.
Yes, she is, though. Come on.
No, that's
there is
hold on a second.
So many people who want to marry her.
If you think that you can find a virtuous, ethical man who tells the truth by showing a lot of skin online, you do not understand male sexual nature. You do not.
I
don't know that people who do OnlyFans are doing it to find a husband.
Yeah, probably to pay rent.
Yeah, what happened to the marketplace, buddy? I mean, I thought we were free market until you're degrading the sexual nature of men. Oh.
Because Charlie Kirk immediately after this talks about how he wants to outlaw pornography.
I'm also curious, like, how old is Charlie getting now?
He's a little bit younger
30, 31 at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time to find his life partner. I'm sure he's been very successful at that.
He did get married, and I'm sure he charmed her, I think, with the like. Let me explain. Hey, no. Let me tell you what you're trying to say. That's the thing that gets every woman into bed immediately.
Online, you do not understand male sexual nature. You do not. And I don't profess to know female sexual nature.
So we talked about this a little bit.
Men want what they cannot see and they cannot.
Wait, actually, pause it for a
second. This is as a man, I'll just say, not my experience, frankly.
You definitely don't know about female sexual nature because he's not asking. He's not asking what she gets out of OnlyFans. He's not asking what she may want in a sexual partner. He's defining by his standards what a high value man is and then saying that she's not going to get it because she's appealing to like the basest most sexual nature of a man or something like that.
I would also imagine that being an OnlyFans worker would give you at least some insight into male sexuality that maybe Charlie Kirk is not privy to. There may be some aspects of male sexuality that Charlie is privy to. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that you work for OnlyFans, you have a certain insight into at least a cohort of men and into the sexual nature. Go ahead.
Well, just one note. Kelsey D. Atherton has a tweet that's always goes viral. Oh, you're experiencing a structural problem. Have you considered trying different personal choices instead? Which is just every conservative thing. Which is like, and look, this has happened. We do have a crisis of loneliness in this country. I think it probably has more to do with levels of indebtedness and the price of like sort of the essentials in life and stuff like that. Levels of indebtedness are as high as they've been right before the Great Recession. And there's this idea that hookup culture or some degradation of morals is to blame for this. Actually, younger kids are hooking up way less than previous generations are. So it's not that.
And mystery. They do not want abundance and cleavage and skin.
Okay, so we get the same for men. Can you guys stop slutting it up, please?
No, I'm not saying. I am asking. I mean, men have plenty of. What have I just said? I said men's sexual nature is degenerative. I couldn't be more like cruel on male's primal carnal instincts. The question is, how do you lift this up to something better? Yes.
So we
Can you pause it?
Before.
I'm sorry. This is really interesting, honestly, because you can actually see how he justifies rape culture in his mind, that men's primal nature is sexual and carnal, and it is the women's responsibility to not bring that out.
100%.
It's what the Taliban says. It's what every religious fundamentalist says. It's what the example that she gave. And so if you get raped, it's because you were feeding into the carnal nature.
Look, we allow Emma to come in some days not having her elbows covered. And we all
am I appealing to your prime sexual nature there, Curly?
We're all degenerating now over here because of your influence.
Oh my God, Western society.
I see one of
you're so screwed.
The second I see
one
of
we're so fallen.
The second I see one of Emma's ankles, I degenerate.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you lift us up to something better? Yes.
So we talked about this before. What's the difference between, so she does only lingerie pictures, right? So what's the difference between her and like Gigi Hadid or like any Victoria's Secret model, right?
Well, there's not, I mean, is Gigi Hadid in a really great relationship and doing great? I mean, I believe one of them has like clinical depression.
She's dating Bradley Cooper, I think.
Most celebrity relationships last like what, 6 or 7 years, maybe?
Well, so your point is that they
divorce
more often? Or?
How about like conservative politicians or pundits? How long do their marriages typically last?
Well, I mean, to be fair, maybe Steven Crowder is a celebrity. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Maybe.
Well, so your point is that they divorce more often, or what's
well, I mean, I'm asking if you want.
Are you saying she
again? If you're looking for celebrities for life partner roadmaps, you're looking at the wrong people. Okay.
If you're looking at Charlie Kirk too.
I'm asking.
So you're fine with comparing that and being like, oh yeah, they're both not. They can't find high value men or whatever you're claiming.
I am very short on their long-term prospects of being a couple for the next 30 years. I mean, if that's their question. But if you do not have to create a new roadmap. When women were more modest in their presentations, when women were more humble in their
was that necessarily a woman being humble, or was that also the laws of the day and age where they could?
No, in the 1950s, the laws were fine. I mean,
you couldn't get a divorce because you never had a job.
I just want to weigh in here.
She's smoking him.
Yeah, I mean, totally embarrassing, this guy. In the 1950s, my mother, I don't think she wasn't quite married, but my mother got married probably in the mid 1960s, early 1960s. She was not allowed to register to vote in Worcester, Massachusetts. This is not a podunk town. It's the second biggest city in New England. Under her maiden name. She was not allowed to have a credit card in her name. It was Mrs. Seder. She was allowed to have a credit card. In probably every state in the country, you could not be charged with rape did not exist if it was perpetrated upon your wife. That in the eyes of the law, your wife was essentially your property.
Where does the phrase rule of thumb come from? Do you remember? Do you guys know?
I actually don't know that.
You could beat your wife with something as long as it wasn't thicker than your thumb.
Wow. Really?
They can go back.
The laws weren't a problem.
Yeah, right. That's not great. Yeah. Also, divorce rates have been on decline since 2000, slightly. Like, it's not overwhelming, but they have been. And that's when, internet porn and things like OnlyFans increase substantially. So there's no statistical correlation to what he's saying. It's just like a rehash of old like religious patriarchy.
You know what really strongly correlates to bad social outcomes like addiction or say loneliness is indebtedness.
Continue.
Was that necessarily a woman being humble, or was that also the laws of the day and age where they could?
No, in the 1950s, the laws were fine. I mean,
you couldn't get a divorce because you never had a job. You couldn't get out of the relationship. What are you talking about?
No fault divorce ended in the 60s or 70s. You could still get a divorce. It just was
but
harder.
you had no job. You had no prospects. You had nothing. You had
That's a separate issue. I don't. You're getting too far off track. I'm asking a theoretical question. If more women than not made a commitment that we want a life partner. I think the reason why you all and women are willing to engage in hookup culture, even though you know it's destructive, even though you know it's bad for you, is because deep down women tend to be more insecure than men, and you think that you can get praise from men by doing this, and it gives you temporary security, and you're willing to then sacrifice long-term viability.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it praise for men that she's after, or is she just trying to pay her rent?
Right.
Also, like, I know I'm always referencing Mad Men, but I do love in the beginning of the show when they're talking about, like, why would we want Peggy's insight into this? Because women want what men want to feel desirable to men. So when we say that this product is what's going to make you desirable to me, that's how we should be marketing this stuff to women. And it's like, they don't misogynists or people that are in a patriarchal system, men like that, they don't even consider the fact that women have their own self identity, that they don't want, like, stuff that makes me, what makes me feel good is like when I make a really good point on the show. And it's not because, Sam, you may agree with the point. It's because I feel like the point is good. And that's independent of the validation I'm getting from the men.
That is a good point that you
made.
Oh, wow. My insecurity just washed away.
Yeah, the problem with like pornography and OnlyFans isn't that it exists and that it's debasing us and taking us farther from God. It's that there are people that participated in it because they have to pay rent, not because they want to be creating that sort of content. That's the problem with it.
Temporary security, and you're willing to then sacrifice long-term viability of finding a life partner for that temporary security.
You also put that on me. I don't engage in hookup culture at all.
We can leave it there. Actually,
that's fine. I'm just saying more.
More broadly, you know what amazing is that every time she nails Charlie Kirk on his point, he's like, I'm actually talking about something different.
Yeah.
Like he started off with, weren't things much better when women dressed more modestly? And she says, are you kidding? People were chattel at that time. Well, okay, you're getting far afield. Let's talk about something else. It's amazing to see him get dragged that way.
When he gets dismissed, he gets dismissive when she's making a valid point. He's like, you're not directing the conversation the way that I want you to direct it. I mean, that's that's classic.
Here, ladies,
that's classic.
You're not listening to what I am telling you to do.
Which that's your fault.
And which is exactly proof of my point.
And for any young woman watching this, just go back to that conversation, because I feel like I've had growing up, I had conversations that made me feel bad about myself, where I'm like, am I not making sense? Am I not articulating myself well to this person and to this man when they would, respond in that way? But a lot of it is just like internalized misogyny where you don't necessarily realize it.
Oh, Emma, that's not what we're talking about right
Yeah, right. And I like when he talks about what makes you feel insecure, that's what made me feel insecure growing up. That's what made me feel like, it made me feel like, oh, wow, I'm not contributing. You don't see me as a whole person. But he can't even fathom that women have their own like personality and agency outside of what they want from men. It's incredible to see a grown person in 2024 think that way. But I think there's a lot of men that think that way.
Oh, that's a lot of elbow in that one.
I know.
But whatever needs to have some people besides Charlie Kirk and Dave Rubin on that show. It's getting weird. Do they like subsidize the show?
I think they purposely have conservative men on, right? Like, I don't understand.
Every single clip I see is like, you are going to die alone because you have been sexual on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what it's set up to do. And it's like, I don't know.
Wait, but how about all the men that are subscribing to her
but also, all it takes is to find one man. And I think like OnlyFans models are going to be fine. But there are certain lines of work you go into that, yeah, like they cut down on maybe your options. Like, for instance, if you're a conservative pundit, people might not want to associate you with because you want to, suppress women's right to reproductive health or something like that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.